law. But my point was that there's not a lot of these people. There's only one person in charge of a planet. And so this being in charge of the solar planet, he teaches a being called Manu. And Manu is the father of mankind, another great king. And Manu taught Ishvaku. So from Ishvaku down, this line is traceable. They'll give the names of the different kings all the way. And this day and age, which is like a winter age, it's an age of irreligion. It's like winter, can kill the grass, leaves fall from the trees. It's certainly different from spring, summer, and fall. So there's cosmic ages, the age of goodness or gold, the age where there's vice enters, you could call it silver age, and then the copper age would be where there's actually a divide, 50% goodness and 50%, for lack of words, evil, or irreligion, religion and irreligion. But in this age, which is the shortest of the ages, the longest of the ages is the age of goodness, but the shortest is the age of irreligion. And that's the age where vice is dominant. That's why you see the world as it is, because it is the age of irreligion. There's always going to be, hypocrisy. You have the best of men, and all of a sudden, we get influenced and we do something hypocritical, and we may get away with it once or twice, but eventually, generally speaking, even in this world, people succumb to their faults. But we may even get completely away with it in this world where no one ever notices it, or can actually, put you on trial, so to speak. But it's always known in the universe. There's always higher beings who are observing everything, even in this world. And the Almighty, Supreme God, really doesn't have to mess with this stuff. His agents take care of it. He's just, and his world is a world of contentment and refinement, and just everybody's just enjoying a loving relationship with God and his devotees. But he is responsible. He has his expansions that take care of this world, and those expansions have their agents, and it comes down to human society. So it mentioned in here about how Ishvaku was the head of this human dynasty that came on down to a person named Raghu, and then in the purport it said, in that dynasty Ramachandra appeared. So Ramachandra is a famous incarnation of the Supreme Being in this universe. And we read the verse where Krishna says, I come millennium after millennium to protect the pious and to chastise the miscreants, to maintain the principles of religion, and to control the irreligious principles. So Ramachandra was one of those incarnations, very famous incarnation, just like we've all heard something about the Bible, Marshall probably more than the rest of us since he was a minister for 20 years. But India, everyone would know about those Ramachandras. They would even tell you, well, you don't have to tell me about Ramachandra. I know everything about Ramachandra. So, there's movies about Ramachandra, there's comic books about Ramachandra, and everybody knows about Ramachandra. So, he appeared in that human dynasty. He appeared as a human being. It's a famous story. But he actually fought. He ultimately fought with a being that came from the lower worlds and had practically conquered the universe. A very powerful being. Extremely powerful being. So it's a great tale, so to speak. If you ever get a chance to hear from that book, it's called Rama, R-A-M-A, Rama Yan, Y-A-N-A. Ramayana is a very famous classic of, good overcoming evil. But for the evil to be taken care of, God himself incarnated and had been played the role of a human king. And goes through a whole life of typical up, an up and a down that all of us human beings go through, mountains and valleys. But it came to a point where he ultimately had to engage in mortal combat, with this being. In fact, armies had to. And, this being was undefeatable. And these are all, very mystical, on his side was extremely mystical, potent beings with all sorts of mystical weapons and, mystical powers. And on his side, it was extremely unusual because the arrangement of providence was that Vishnu means the Almighty God, took his birth in the human dynasty of Raghu, as a human king. But the beings that were going to help him to fight against this evil molester of the planets was a race of apes that were highly intelligent and very powerful, because when Vishnu said, I will appear, and he said, all you devas in the celestial worlds, the devas are the beings, when we look out at night and see the different planets, they're the beings in higher planets that control everything ultimately on Earth. They even control our individual bodies, our eyes, our ears, everything. We're all operating under our karmas from past lives, and we're creating our future destiny. So Vishnu said, all you devas will appear in the family of monkeys, and you will assist me in defeating this Rakshasa. Rakshasa refers to a being who we would call a cannibal, but not an aborigine cannibal. These are they're celestial beings in the sense that they have powers much greater than humans. And, they have their clan and they have their place where they live and they operate. At that time, though, they became extremely powerful and practically conquered the universe. And humans were nothing to them. This being, when he attained boons by performing great mystic yoga austerities, and when he was offered a boon, he got all these boons never to be defeated by any weapon or by any deva. But he didn't even ask for a boon to never be defeated by a human being, because it was like beneath his dignity. Or an animal. I mean, he didn't even ask for something like that, because he couldn't even dream of a human being defeating them, or an animal. So, in order to keep the boons intact, because providence will operate like that, a great being will give some boon, and providence will figure out a way not to break the boon, but to accomplish what providence has to accomplish. So God took his birth in a human family, and all the devas took birth in a family of apes that were extremely, very intelligent and very powerful, that they would ultimately be able to fight against these we use the Sanskrit name Rakshasas, these man-eating warriors. And today in Lanka, which is an island, fairly big island off the bottom of India, the subcontinent of India, that's where it is claimed that his abode is. If you go there today, I mean, you can see, people will say this is where Ravana's kingdom was. And it was a city of gold, and he operated out of that city. His father was a celestial Brahmana, Brahmana meaning teacher, person, a sage, a rishi, a saint, but from a higher planet, not just earthling. But his mother was a Rakshasa, a mixed marriage like that. So he became ultimately the king of the Rakshasas, but his brother was the celestial treasurer of the Devas. He even defeated him and took from him so much wealth, like that gold city. Took from him a certain airship that was extremely powerful and celestial. Anyway, wonderful story. I didn't mean to speak so much about it, but my point was that Ramachandra, or God, appeared in one of these human dynasties that even today people can trace back their dynasties. But due to the age, this age of their religion, these dynasties have become less potent. And they don't no longer have the potency that they had in previous ages in order to control their religion. For example, they don't have those type of weapons. They had, in the previous age, they had weapons that were controlled by sound or mantra. They could take an ordinary spear or arrow and empower it with mantra and turn it into a nuclear force if you were that great of a warrior. Or you could turn and carpenters and craftspeople. I mean, just from generation to generation. They may not even go to school, but they learn everything within their caste or dynasty. Even in India today, you'll find it. Or they may go for the basics, but unless, because of the influence of time and the age, unless they want to go off to college and do something else, they may then become very serious about taking up their father's work, because when the father passes on, it comes down to them. He passes it down to his children. You'll find all kinds of dynasties in India like that. Like so many of these in the hospitality industry in the United States. Much of it is owned by the Indian clan Patels, who are a mercantile clan of people that have always, have existed since time immemorial. That's what they do. They garner wealth and then they distribute it. They're expert at it. They're bankers, they're merchants, but they're also agriculturists. Wealth comes from agriculture also, because people can't eat without agriculture. The state of California produces more agriculture than any state in the United States. And if it was a country, it would be the 4th or 5th highest GPO in the world. So, agriculture, these people are expert agriculturists. They're expert at these things. So these, and you'll find those like when we have deities in our temples. We go to a dynasty of deity wallahs that make those deities according to scriptures, because then the priests are going to have to ask Krishna, or God, to appear in that sculpture so that the devotees can serve him and people can come before him and see him in a physical form and be able to relate to him physically. So it's not idolatry, as the Muslims persecuted the Hindus for. It's a form of worship that's the oldest in the world, where in scripture you would find how to carve the deity, and you could make the deity from metal or marble or stone or gold or herbs, different, from sand, clay, and then with the special mantra and with the priestly class, people who live a life of studying scriptures and teaching them to people and performing the sacraments or rituals they need in life, like marriages and funerals and all these things. There's so many, from the time of conception to the time a person dies. They chant these mantras and petition Krishna, or God. Krishna is a name for God. It just means the most attractive person. That's what Krishna means, the most attractive person. And the name Rama means the greatest enjoyer. So they would petition him to appear in this physical form where an ordinary picture or sculpture now becomes Krishna coming there in the physical to be taken care of by those people who want to be his devotee. And that way he can accept very simple service. Like you go to, even today, almost any Hindu's home, and the ladies will have some area, some room, or at least some closet. You open the pantry, and that's where she'll have her deity. She'll have her guru, the people that they've been studying under for generations, that their line of teachers that they've been studying under. And then she'll have their particular deity. It may be Krishna, it may be Lord Ramchandra, it may be Vishnu, like that. Or they may be worshippers of Devas, because Devas reward material things, but they cannot give the highest spiritual benefit. You have to go through the Supreme Being, like we learn in Christianity, or in Judaism and Islam, for that matter. And then you have to worship the Supreme Being. But they are ever beings, and these ever beings can also give benedictions, by the blessings of God or Vishnu. So some people worship these we would say demigods. In India they would say devas, but it's not Deva, the God of gods. So anyway, when they cook something, they offer it to their deity first, because even in the Gita, when we get to the we went over in the 3rd chapter, Krishna said, those who eat food that is first offered for sacrifice become free from all bad reactions. I mean, sometimes we think that being a vegetarian is very great, but monkeys are vegetarians, giraffes are vegetarians, cows are vegetarians, so many creatures are vegetarians. So, but when we take the same food and we offer it to God first, it becomes sanctified and can free one from from sin, so to speak, a bad reaction, ill karma, because you've offered the food to God and he accepts it and he purifies it. And that's what humans are meant to do. Animals don't do that. They don't have the consciousness for that. Humans do. So it's not always easy in life, in any form in the material world. Any form in the material world. It's the nature of this world. That's why it's recommended we go back home, back to God. But people, we can go up and down, generation after generation after generation, forever. You may, by pious activities, go up to the heavenly planets. Eventually, you come back down to Earth. Hopefully, you don't become a bad guy and go further down. But you can go up and down all you want. But to get to the eternal kingdom of God, one has to become his devotee and engage in the science of yoga. That leads ultimately to bhakti, or pure devotion for God, where you're his unalloyed devotee, just like the person in this Gita, this Arjuna. We just read the verse. Krishna said, because you are my friend and devotee, I will speak this science to you. God doesn't just speak it to a scholar, or somebody at Harvard who's studying Indology or Sanskrit, and they're studying this, because they're going to be the professor of it. So they have to understand it all. But Krishna may not come alive to them in the Gita, because God only becomes alive to his devotee, to those who are going to be devoted to him and be his friend. Not to just a scholar who may just use him. I mean, like good scholarship and a good life, one will have a good destiny. We'll have material opulence. But those are things of this world, and they don't last forever. But then to become Krishna's friend and devotee means that ultimately you can go to his abode just by being his friend and devotee. It doesn't depend on the religion. What it depends on is ourself. As you said, where you feel God and you listen to the Supreme God in your heart, and you do your best to take his advice and be his devotee rather than not. Anyway, so we're going to move into the eating and try to get into maybe a party phase of it. So I'll just open the floor to everybody just enjoying themselves, and if somebody has some question about this, you can ask that, but otherwise just ordinary socializing is great. You know?
He said one more.
Maharanis wanted to be a party also.
Two more.
Two more.
Oh wait. No. Yeah, one more.
So I hope you got a little something out of there. You know, you don't have to believe, so to speak, but that's what's been passed down. What is your name?
Hi, I'm Mike.
This is Mike. Does anybody know Mike?
No.
I do.
I met Mike.
He does.
Maharanis?
I think I've met you before, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what is your name? I don't know you either.
I'm Franco. Franco.
You're Franco. Franco is right?
Yes.
Okay.
Franco knows about Prabhupada.
Nice to meet you, brother.
Good.
And I
See
know
you
this
again,
guy too.
Mike.
I just met him just this week, Thursday.
All right, good. All right, so if anybody needs any accounting work done, you can see Francis, but what do you do, Mike?
I do marketing
You're
and
marketing.
consulting.
Wow. Lots of market in the world. And Franco?
Computer guy.
You're a computer guy. No, people need your help too, don't they? I mean, you do individual fixing of people's computers, or you do what? Software engineering, or you're an IT guy, or what?
IT for the military.
IT for the military. Well, we hope you're on your job because we can't afford to be hired by him.
People tell me that. I think
It's a war itself, isn't it? And it goes on.
Did you guys ever find out what those drones in New Jersey were?
You wouldn't be able to say that.
It's above my pay grade. There's always an answer though.
There's always an answer. That's good to know. That's refreshing.
Yeah.
Did you have to take Sec Plus for that?
What?
The Sec Plus? Did you have to take the Sec Plus for
Oh, no. I kind of grandfathered in from an offer.
Mr. Franco, can you move to a table? She said it will really help you.
Oh,
Please.
Yeah,
Jason,
maybe
too.
hard eating. You know?
That's 2 plates, 2 tables. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah,
You'll have
okay,
to
we'll
get-
have to move this right here. Somebody else try to squeeze it, yeah. Did you have anything here?
Oh yeah,
I don't. I set your notebook there. You two the time to go sit beside Yogi or anywhere.
Are you from Mississippi?
I'm originally from Birmingham.
Birmingham. They used to sell incense in Birmingham.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, way back.
At the Golden Temple.
No, they didn't have no temples there back then. Back in the
Oh,
70s,
this is a-
80s, you know.
It's not a temple. It's a health food store.
Oh, health food store, okay. You said Golden Temple.
It's yeah.
The Sikh people who wear the turban.
Yeah.
Their most famous temple in India is the Golden Temple.
Okay.
They have a great golden temple. Anybody can go there every day, and you can get dal rice and chapatis. They serve out no less than 10,000 meals a day to go.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Franco, where we gonna put you? Franco, you gotta get back here somewhere. So you Air Force or Army or Navy?
Civilian contractor.
Oh, so okay.
The spoons and forks are
They do a lot of work like that, don't they?
upside down. So you don't have to. Yeah, do them like that.
Gold pieces so they can make sure we never have too much in it.
That's why I have to make yours first.
Moving around, huh?
Yeah. But she grew up here, so they came back here.
It was called Hindus. And Hindustan, just like Pakistan, Kazakhstan. You know, it's Muslim word, stan means like place. So they called it Hindustan, the place of the Hindus. And the Hindus were the people who lived on the other side of the Himalayan mountains. So what the people identified themselves with is that they were followers of the Vedas, of which the Bhagavad Gita is a part of. The Vedas are the user manual that God gives in the material creation for people to be able to take care of themselves. Yeah, just like, you know, if you have a user manual, you can use the machine right. So you have a user manual, you can utilize this world to take care of your needs.
Okay, so with
Materially and spiritually.
with the Bhagavad Gita being Krishna's words, or Krishna and Vishnu's words to Arjuna, right? Where does Shiva come in?
You're getting the essence of everything in the Bhagavad Gita. The Bhagavad Gita, this Veda means knowledge, V-E-D-A.
Yeah.
Because of the time, the previous ages, people didn't have writing. That memories were so sharp, they didn't need writing. You know, everything was done by just vocally. In this day and age, that's not possible. So the Veda was written down 5,000 years ago by a literary incarnation of God, whose purpose for coming was simply to take the Veda and divide it to make it easier for people to understand and put it into writing. So he divided it into 4, but then there are many supplements to this. The Bhagavad Gita is one chapter in that book that maybe if you were listening to me read that purport, I mentioned this book, Mahabharata. Maha meaning great, Bharata meaning the world. So Mahabharata is the ancient history of the world. And the Bhagavad Gita is one chapter in there. This is the largest, this is like, I don't know, 20 times bigger than Iliad and the Odyssey. It's like 7 times bigger than the Bible. It's a huge work, this Mahabharata. It's like 100,000 Sanskrit slokas. So the Bhagavad Gita appears in there. I've got to make this short. At a certain point in this history, where Krishna needs to speak to his friend Arjuna in order to inspire him to go through a war that he's been forced into. And if he doesn't do his job, it's going to lead to God's plans of good overcoming evil not happening so well.
Thank you.
Krishna tells him, you can be an instrument and do this, or you cannot be an instrument. But it's going to happen anyway, because this is Providence's plan. So anyway, that's the Bhagavad Gita. Where Shiva comes in, everything's an expansion of God. We are expansions of God. We are God's energy. But we're like molecules of sunshine. God is like the sun. So very big. But we're very little. But same composition. He's good, eternal, full of joy and bliss, and illuminated with knowledge. Hello, ma'am. Glad you could come. Maharani said we'd have a police officer. Oh, that's you from last week, Maria.
Hey, madam.
Is it Maria? Not Maria, is it?
Yeah, Linda Marie.
Linda Marie, huh? Yeah.
You can come here.
Okay, good. So you know what's going on here.
You need to bring another table over here?
No, she can sit.
So we're also expansions of God, but we're little bitty. That's why our natural nature is divine. It's only when we get influenced by the lower material nature that we can become very undivine. Anyhow, so Shiva is also a very, very, very special type of incarnation of God. He deals primarily with the dark mode, because Vishnu, or the Almighty God, he doesn't deal directly with the dark mode. He expands himself as Shiva. Shiva deals with the dark mode. But Shiva is what they call a guna avatar. Avatar meaning one who descends, and guna means controls a mode of nature. Shiva controls the dark mode of nature, and he's the destroyer of the universe. He's like the greatest emblem of destruction. Shiva is easily pleased and can satisfy all your needs very easily. But Shiva also can be very easily angered. So Shiva, and it's pronounced You know, I'm not a Sanskritist, but a South Indian gentleman whose parents were priests in one of the biggest temples in India. He told me it's pronounced with a C, like Siva. Siva. Most of us in America, we say Shiva with an S, but it's Siva. He says Siva. But that's not my forte. There are many, many Sanskrit scholars who can tell you exactly, you know.
So if you
I
could
just
say-
read Romanized Sanskrit.
Alright, so my question would be, would Shiva come before or after the Gita?
Before or after what?
The Gita.
Oh, much before.
Much before, okay.
But you know, the Gita, Krishna said he spoke it to the sun god, but you know, Shiva is like at the beginning of creation, you know. At the beginning of creation, God desires the material creation. To do that, he expands material energy. He enters the material energy, and from his breathing comes all the universes. As he lies in Sanskrit, they will appear from Brahma. But initially, when Vishnu or Krishna, God, looked over the material energy, his glance came out as Sambhu or Shiva, and he impregnates the material nature, which is goddess, the goddess Durga. So Shiva and Durga are the mother and father of the material creation. And they protect it, just like, you know, Krishna says, I come and protect the pious and chastise the miscreants. Many times, Shiva just does that job. There's so many, it said there's so many avatars that come, it's like waves on an ocean. And many times human beings are empowered to do the work of an avatar or an incarnation. They'll call it a Shakya base. Shakya means he's given energy to carry out a certain work. Many times, like, religion can't be spread unless the minister is genuinely empowered by God to do that. And it's the same with warriors on a battlefield. They may not achieve victory without the mercy of God. That's why in that occupation, it said that one who dies nobly on a battlefield fighting for what is right, no matter how bad of a person he may have, maybe I don't want to use the word bad, but no matter how ordinary and how, you know, less than saintly he may have been, somebody who, you know, certainly had a scorecard of sins, but if he dies on the battlefield carrying out, you know, a mission for righteousness, you know, to fighting for what is right, you know, on behalf of God, he automatically attains the heavenly planets. Just as priests or Brahmins who are always performing sacrifices, always taking care of temples, always teaching the word, so to speak, naturally, you know, they're going to attain a great destination. But so do warriors who are fighting for what is right. Now, a warrior who is fighting just to exploit and you know, take over nations or communities, you know, for their own lust. I mean, what is the old famous saying? You know, man inherits the world, he gains the world with his power, but he loses his soul. So that type of person may not attain to the celestial world, but the person who fights against him, even though he may be the loser. So, you know, warriors, these warriors in these dynasties, they were taught from the beginning of life. It's stated in the Vedas that these warrior women they give birth to children to see them die on the battlefield. They don't think it's honorable to die at home in a bed. I prefer, I hope to die there rather than in the hospital. You know, I have a lot of friends that have passed away at home, and it many times it can be nicer. Not that much. You know, I have friends that have passed away in the hospital too, and you know they took care of them nicely and everything was fine. You know, but at home can be nice too. Anyhow, they want to die fighting for what is right. They're not afraid to do that. You know, that's how that it's become like an occupation, just as plumbing is an occupation. You're not afraid if there's a leak. Damn water's going all over the place, the HV's not working, you know. You go out there, yeah, you take care of it. You don't call a warrior, he's gonna go in and look at it. What's he gonna do? He's gonna break the pipe, pulling it off, he's gonna cuss at the PVC and this and that. You call in an expert plumber, you know.
I like that. It's good now.
Anyhow.
What were you talking about last week with like the three, and one of them was darkness?
Yeah, those are those three modes. Shiva's in charge of the mode of darkness. And Brahma is in charge of the mode of passion. That's the mode of creation.
What was the third mode?
Mode of goodness.
I think it was Sattvic, Tamasic, and Rajasic.
Yeah.
I'll get to eat a little bit here. Let Marshall talk for a little while. He's on the second plate.
You keeping up with it, aren't you?
I wouldn't have known. I was getting ready to say, gee, he hadn't even started either. But I noticed the other plate on me.
I was trying to hide it. Maharani, could you step out here? Okay. I just think we ought to give her love, appreciation.
Yeah, she deserves it.
We just want to thank you. You have outdone yourself. And it's
I want to
amazing.
thank y'all. This is my thing to thank y'all for
It's-
listening to my blah blah blah. Now you have to listen to them blah blah blah.
Usually I gotta listen to her blah blah blah.
That they came here from my blah blah.
We get to eat the best food and have the best talks.
Thank you. We're missing Ron here today again.
And I apologize for not wearing red. I
That's
forgot
okay.
all about it.
Yeah. It's okay.
That
Everybody's
rebel within you.
Yeah, I know, right. At least
Thank you,
I
thank you.
wore a necklace with the red in it,
I
right?
couldn't get out the house
red
without
too.
Yeah,
that.
red skies.
Maroon?
I couldn't find anything red on me. Deep fried.
Red on my shoes.
I'm curious, do y'all have any kind of spiritual practice that helps you every day? Like, one thing that helps me is if I can get up, get out in nature, barefooted.
You go barefooted.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
believe in that.
Ground, earth,
Yeah.
and it just changes my energy.
Mm.
And then if I can set, no phone or anything and listen to the katydids and the crickets and that symphony nature sings to me, it just raises my frequency, and I feel so much closer to the divine.
Nature symphony, I like that.
Yeah, it is.
Kinda cool.
It is, and they're all playing together, the frogs and everything.
Well, you can do that in Wiggins, but what about everybody here on Pass Road? You know?
Well,
You go down the beach, and I can listen to the waves, you know?
Yeah, that's.
Yeah, that's the other option. I used to do that in Biloxi. We'd go sit at the beach now. There's like a nature reservation.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
about half a mile from my house. I run my dogs there. Tried something new yesterday. I ran my 5K barefoot so I could ground while I
Wow, yeah.
Wow.
did it. I had to hop around because
Yeah.
some contractors had some broken
Oh,
glass out
yeah.
there. Fortunately, I stepped just right.
Yeah.
Mm.
Felt great. After
Yeah,
that.
watch it.
You know they make those shoes that are like
Yeah.
form fitting to your feet. Yeah, they're more like forgiving and grounding.
I've
Have
been
you seen
looking
them?
for them. I
Yeah.
haven't they have like the toes, the individual
Yeah.
toes, but I haven't found any with a conductive material.
Okay. I don't know.
So it'd be the
But
thing there.
yeah, I'm sure there's a bunch of them out there.
And a lot of the
lot
grounding,
of
they
advertisements
actually
on
sell
social
grounding
media about
tennis
it.
shoes, but they tear up too easily. So that's the downside there. I actually took some of my regular running shoes and ran copper wire through them, just as like to make a prototype. Unfortunately, the copper wire couldn't hold up.
You want more to
with,
drink? You want more to drink?
running distances. I probably got 10 miles out of it.
Yeah.
Oh, no such thing as that. What, the drink or the curry?
Yeah, the drink.
I'll just
We
go.
really hope everybody has a safe, joyful, Krishna conscious Christmas and New Year's.
Here, here.
I did something similar. I just sit my phone, try not to add or subtract. I just kind of use this for,
Blind married?
So to speak. Yeah.
These are the
Turn the calculator off for a minute. Do any of y'all do yoga?
No, it's on
Oh,
I've been wanting to do it for a long time.
I went, it was a little over a year ago, and right before the cow festival, Gary Air.
Yeah, because my baby.
It was like a god thing.
Okay.
Like you go to the cow festival and you do yoga, and I went and I did 7 sessions. And when I got home, of course I was tired and sore. But when I sat down
Okay,
to
okay.
do a little yoga
Yeah,
and meditate,
that's okay.
which I had never done before, but I thought I wanted to do it. It was like the heavens opened up. It was like all the energy in my body could flow because I was opened up. I don't understand it to this day. But I began to have these like visitations, and I could really meditate. That's the first time I ever had a spirit guide come to me. And I was really going through a lot of stuff, you know, and it really comforted my heart and showed me that I was on the right path. Yeah, it was just a witness, a divine witness, you know.
so you get those chakras open. Huh?
Exactly. Exactly.
Was that when you were saying you weren't any more fulfilled by it, or was that a separate? When you said that you had fasted for 18 days and that you
That is good, yeah.
was that a separate occasion?
Yeah, that was separate. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where's that buffet?
No, let me get home. My best time's early in the morning, before sunrise even. That's when I meditate or, and I do the japa meditation with the bees, simply chanting the mantra. And it's so much better early in the morning like that.
Do you have one of those
The world's peaceful.
fiber, like a squeeze box? That,
Harmonium?
yeah, harmonium.
Yeah, but I'm not,
You don't play.
I'm not singing noise at my
Oh, okay.
forte. My sons do that. No, I'm just chanting softly on beads. The beads count the mantra and engages your touch. And you're vibrating the mantra softly for your ear to hear. So with the vibration of the tongue and the lips and hearing it with your ear and feeling the beads, your fingers, it helps you to focus upon the mantra. And M-A-N in Sanskrit means M-I-N-D, the mind, and Tra means to liberate the mind from material conceptions. So we just don't think with this body. We begin to understand that we're an Atma, or an eternal self. In yoga it said that the Atma is 1/10,000th the size of the tip of a hair, and it's riding on the life air inside the body. So the yoga process is meant to purify those life airs
What is that?
so that one can start to see things on a spiritual level
Want drink?
rather than just material level. You know?
Yeah, more more light, the better.
Yeah, start to see that there's actually an eternal being inside every form of life. It's not just the body.
I'll go get another,
I'll take it.
another plate like that.
Oh, you have one?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of being in the body when I get down. Go for a jog, go dancing, do something. You know, get out of my head and into my body. Because then
Absolutely.
I'm not thinking about myself and thinking about all the problems and all that bullshit.
Yep. That's good.
The self-narrative.
These days, we need more of that.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Between all the fear mongering and
Media diet.
economic stress and all these other things, we need some more self-love here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been struggling with doom scrolling.
Yeah.
Yeah, just absent-mindedly, the dopamine hits, whatever.
You know, it actually,
Too many reels, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can set a time limit.
See, I wouldn't have even thought you would know what a reel was, but yeah.
It's sucked in, you know.
what I've started doing is I've started setting my phone black and white, and it's less stimulating.
Ah,
So
I didn't even know that was a feature.
There's a thing
I've seen
about the
people do
light
that.
frequencies on phones.
Yeah.
That's why you want that blue filter at night, because it messes up your night circadian.
Oh, yeah.
circadian
I
rhythm.
keep that on
Circadian
all the
rhythm,
time
so
anyway.
You have to watch that.
The blue light filter. You know, they did a study on the street lamps. Have y'all heard about that? How the old
did
school
another
lamps,
drink,
you remember, had the red glow, the incandescent glow,
Yeah.
like the Thomas Edison bulbs. You know, they actually released a little bit of radiation to the skin that healed the DNA.
Yeah.
But now they have everything's LED. Well, the LED just
Yeah.
causes more stress in the body.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that's in the blue light and the TVs and the cell phones,
Right,
these
right.
light bulbs.
Right.
They've changed all the light bulbs now. So they're thinking about going back to filament because it was healthier for people.
I just don't wanna
I
scream.
doubt they do that.
I think good days are ahead. I feel in my spirit that things are gonna start to change and we're gonna start to see healthier food, a lot of healthier options. I do. What do you think about
I
that?
think by
It's starting to
2030,
be documented. I heard a thing on MP, Washington Public Radio yesterday. This lady was documenting, you know, what's happened, why that people have become so much unhealthy and obese, and they documented it that in the 80s and 90s, the cigarette companies started buying up all these food companies that process food, and they started processing in such a way that there was more calories in the same amount of food that you would eat. And they were documenting that you know, it was the cause of ill health and obesity, but it's not a 100% scientific fact yet, because they have to do a lot of controlled studies, because maybe the people that they were documenting were having a lack of exercise, or you know, something else was also associated with the cause, and not just eating. They were using the word ultra processed food. They're saying that's what's plaguing, that they're really starting to think that that's what's plaguing society. It's just like it was very difficult for the medical industry to prove that, you know, cigarettes led to lung cancer. It will be very difficult to also prove that ultra processed food is leading to obesity.
Well, it's not that hard, because you look at the cereal in Europe, and it's like
Europe's a lot stricter than the United States.
4 or 5 ingredients, and we have paint thinner in ours. You know,
well,
I mean,
if you
it's
look
just
at
for
all the
children.
markets over there, they have warnings on all their stuff of what's good,
Right.
you know.
I saw recently, like a store has one little section of like Western food, American food, and it all has warnings on it, every bit of it.
Right.
Do not eat.
Yeah.
Big bowl and they're shaped like stop signs in the
Yeah.
corner of
You
everybody.
got that guy on the internet on those reels. What's his thing? If nature didn't make it, don't eat, don't take it.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a good mantra.
That's a great one.
I mean, good home, home cooked food.
Absolutely.
Rice and in the schools, also they're trying to eliminate the ultra processed food, right? Right in the public school system even.
They engineer that food to be addictive, highly
Yeah.
addictive, lots of sugar,
You can
salts, fats.
compare a prison to a school, the same buses, the same dinners, the same hallways, rooms, everything.
They probably don't care about the presidents, they're probably just sending them all the ultra processed food, whatever's the cheapest that they can pick up.
If you give people good food, it gives good vibration.
Absolutely.
Of course,
I mean,
I don't know,
What used
I
to
don't know, I've
be-
never been there, but I've heard that Louisiana president, Angola, that they grow all their vegetables. That, have all the vegetables that they have, they grow it.
They probably spray it.
They may use a lot, but I don't know,
Yeah.
I mean, those guys do a lot of reading too.
Yeah.
So they may try
Oh,
to do
yeah.
it organically.
Yeah.
Or
Oh,
at
they
least,
do.
at least limited.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I have a friend and a young guy who joining the military, and he did rather well. In fact, they said, look, you go back to school and do these courses and we'll put you in our nuclear program. He signed a contract, and that contract, they gave him what he wanted. They get, special diet, a lot of Krishna devotees will have a tuft of hair in the back of their hair. Even if they got a lot of hair, they'll have that there. They said, you can keep that, just like they let the Sikhs wear the turbans. Because they want his services. And they accommodated, his heritage, and where he's coming from. And I've had to write kids going to school, I had to write them, notes saying that, this kid has been a vegetarian all their life, it's part of our culture. And once the university sees some proof of it, that this is, part of this, an intricate part of this person's life, they accommodate them.
anybody else wants anything, let me know.
What's in this cake?
Cake has cake flour.
No,
Sugar?
okay. No.
What else you want to talk
The
about?
fruit or whatever the little
Yeah,
bits
that's
in
our new creation. Fruit cake.
It's way better than that American fruit cake you buy in the stores.
Somebody just ordered, that lady came in, she tried it, she said, I want one of those.
Of course, yeah.
Stephen wants
No, it's
one of
really good,
those.
it is really good. I've never had good fruit cake in my life. It's probably
You okay, police lady?
the stuff's awful, that prepackaged fruit cake, back in the 70s, oh, man, it had changed. I think it's an American thing, I don't think they'd serve that anywhere else in the world.
I've had really
You
good
know,
homemade
Oh,
cakes,
yeah.
fruit
but
cakes,
not
oh,
the-
oh.
You gave it to people you didn't really like, right?
20 years later, it's still
Still there.
Still
You're like,
there.
what did you guys?
Use it to prop the door open.
Like a brick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Say it should have been called rock fruit.
Yeah.
My grandmother's made cake all the time. Made it homemade.
I've had some good homemade cookies.
Mm-hmm.
Really good homemade.
I have once.
They claim it was maybe revitalized a bit of rum to be all of it.
Oh,
Oh,
some rum.
right.
Yeah. They get moist with the rum.
Rum first, and then get the cake down, yeah.
Yeah, somebody was definitely down for that.
Someone who claims to have the original recipe for a sugar plum.
For sugar, what?
A sugar plum.
Plum?
Like the nut crackers, sugar plum cake.
Oh.
It looks to me neither sugar or
Mm.
plum.
Not sure what's in it.
Oh, God.
And that Chinese, they do all kinds of stuff with plums. You go to that Vietnamese store over on Division Street. Sour plums, sweet plums, kind of plum, dry plums. All kinds of things they do with plums. Yeah. He lies in, there's an adjective for some, like serial type killer type of unmerciful person that condemns somebody eternally into damnation of suffering. So I was thinking like that, and you know, a couple other theological things, but that was real pertinent in my mind. I started reading books on Indian religion and the whole thing of the evolution of the soul and the soul being able to progress upward and being able to attain a spiritual destination really impressed me. The whole understanding of what I made fun of as a kid, you know, reincarnation, started to really, I was impressed by that doctrine. But I understood it all in a very impersonal way. I had like lost my kind of faith in a personal God, because I was thinking a personal God is just condemning people. So I started to see life more as impersonal. Everything's impersonal ultimately, and everything's just progressing to become to that God state again. And then in January of 71, some guys came down from New York and opened a Hare Krishna temple in New Orleans. And I started frequenting it. And I would argue with those guys all the time, but they would just browbeat me like Baptists, you know. They would just, and so they didn't want to hear what I had to say. They would just say, "Shut up, Johnny, this is how it is," you know, something. And so they would just like, you know, try to impress me with their philosophy without so much caring what I had to say. And you know, I wasn't a highly educated guy, you know, I wasn't a scholar, you know, I was just a 20-year-old kid, you know, with a East Jefferson High School education. So, but the ladies had the biggest impression on me, because I would sit down with them and they would listen to me. And then they would say, "Well, what do you think about this? This is what Krishna says in the Gita. Or this is what Bhaktivedanta Swami said, you know."
They gave you an option.
Yeah, so then I would seriously consider it, you know. And my views were always changing, you know, whatever I understood and liked, I would kind of adopt into my lifestyle, like that. So, but what I liked what they were doing was that they were practicing yoga, and I thought the alternative was to go to India, to the Himalayan mountains, and find some yogis. Because in America, all the yoga places I went to, you know, we would practice some yoga just like I would play ball or something, but then everybody would go to the bar, the club, the lounge afterwards, you know, men would be, you know, womanizing, and so I was thinking, no, I want to practice, you know, that lifestyle where people are actually trying, you know, seeking the truth, and they're performing some austerity in order to achieve that, you know. So these guys, they were all waking up early, and they were all chanting mantras, and they were all cleaning, and then they were eating a vegetarian diet. So I was into that. You know, I wanted to practice yoga like that seriously. So that's how I ended up frequenting that temple, because of that. It's when they asked me to go out and preach the word, so to speak, because I wasn't conversing. I said, what am I going to do? I mean, you know, you want me to shave my head and put on one of your robes and go out and preach the word? But I'm not convinced of the word myself. I'll just let me stay here and study. But they had a way of running you out the door, and go out and distribute out the back of God and make. You know, I was able to go out and actually sing on a street corner. All right, I could do that even though I didn't have any musical talent whatsoever in my cards. You know, You know, I'm not a singer. It took me forever to learn how to play a 1-2-3 beat like they generally play, and to follow their tunes. But you know, it comes off with my rough New Orleans voice. So anyway, I could do that, but I couldn't go out and distribute books so easily. There was another guy there though, and this guy had a lot of good karma. You know, he was college educated. His people were all professors, and he was big, healthy, and the guy looked like Elvis Presley. This is back in the 70s. And every lady would buy one of our Krishna books. With me, I was trying to sell for $0.25, which I'm going to give y'all as a gift tonight for Christmas. I'll back the Godhead magazine. We genuinely say Christmas with Chrishmas. You know, Christ means the anointed one, but that's fine. But because we're devotees of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, we just Krishna, which Christians did with all the pagan stuff too. They Christianized it, you know. And the Romans Christianized Jesus, you know. So. Anyway, that's another thing. But
Speaking of Elvis.
yeah, he would sell those books. But no offense, but I would look for every elderly African American lady on Canal Street and go up and give her a Back to Godhead magazine and say, Hare Krishna, ma'am, and she would say, "Oh, you're a Christian," and she'd give me $0.25 for that. Not all of it, but anyway, that was my clientele.
Yeah.
Because they were religious.
Yeah.
They wasn't put off, you know, by it. But he, you know, every young and middle-aged lady and old ones, you know, he could take those Christian, and he was a good singer, you know, just like Elvis, you know.
Some advantages, huh?
And we took initiation. Now, I wasn't a devotee of a personal God at that time, and it took me a few years to get back to that, but I did accept Swami Bhaktivedanta as a genuine guru who knew the absolute truth. So back then, our institutional thing was that if you actually followed these principles, no meat eating, gambling, intoxication, or illicit sex, you know, no association with ladies outside of marriage. If you did that for 6 months and you chanted this Hare Krishna mantra every day for 16 rounds, which is 1,780 mantras a day, then you could take initiation. You know, I mean, not that they knew you were completely unfaithful and this and that, but you know, I was really into practicing yoga, so they let me take initiation. And this other guy too, he was more of a devotee than me. I mean, he really had a lot of faith in Krishna, and he loved the Krishna book. I just thought it was mythological stories. I just wanted to hear about the Atma and the Paramatma, the Supreme Spirit, and the science of